się szczytu sojuszu w Ankarze. Po drugie, rozmowa o tym, jak wesprzeć Ukrainę w negocjacjach o jej przyszłości, o zakończeniu agresji rosyjskiej na Ukrainę. I po trzecie, o perspektywach akcesji Ukrainy do Unii Europejskiej. Moim wielkim zaszczytem i przyjemnością jest to, że do naszych obrad dołączyła wysoka przedstawiciel Unii Europejskiej do spraw polityki zagranicznej i bezpieczeństwa. Chcemy, aby szczyt NATO zakończył się sukcesem, aby standing Europy wobec Stanów Zjednoczonych wzrósł, tak abyśmy mieli wpływ na wynik negocjacji amerykańsko-rosyjskich wobec Ukrainy. My mamy swoje postulaty, tak jak Rosja ma postulaty, jeśli chodzi o przyszłą powojenną architekturę bezpieczeństwa. To musi być proces, z którego wyłoni się nowa równowaga na kontynencie europejskim. To musi być proces, dzięki któremu Ukraina będzie w bezpiecznych granicach i będzie mogła się rozwijać i ciążyć ku Europie, negocjować swoje członkostwo w Unii Europejskiej i musi to być proces, który nie tylko Ukrainę, ale także nas upewni, że Rosja nie będzie zdolna do ponownej agresji. Antycypując Państwa możliwe pytania, mam już najnowszy raport specjalny z sytuacji konsularnej na Bliskim Wschodzie. Chętnie się podzielę szczegółowymi informacjami. Jak Państwo wiecie, prezes Rady Ministrów już wystąpił do prezydenta o zgodę na uruchomienie samolotu ewakuacji, lotu medycznego z Omanu. Służba konsularna wyłoniła 57 osób ze Zjednoczonych Emiratów Arabskich, które mogłyby być już jutro przywiezione do kraju. Chcę Państwa uwagę zwrócić na to, że wczoraj mieliśmy tylko 3 loty do Polski z Emiratów Arabskich. Dziś zaaranżowane przez biura podróży, bo one mają prawny obowiązek, to jest 10 lotów dla osób wyjeżdżających z Emiratów i lecących do Polski z 2 lotnisk w Omanie. I same władze Emiratów Arabskich organizują duże przedsięwzięcie. Mamy nadzieję, że jak największa ilość z tych lotów, które ma wystartować z Emiratów, będzie także do naszego kraju, zresztą nie tylko Warszawy. Chcę też powiedzieć, że nasza służba konsularna w Egipcie odebrała 736 osób. Część ewakuacji z Jordanii odbyła się drogą morską. W sumie 800 Polaków, z tego 300 osób w ciągu ostatniej doby i w Jordanii nie mamy już zgłoszeń. Ewakuacja z Izraela też praktycznie się zakończyła. To było też około 500 osób. Zostało tylko około 30. I proszę też zwrócić uwagę na to, że ruszyły loty zarówno komercyjne, jak i ewakuacyjne z różnych krajów. Nasze służby i w centrali rozwinięte zostały stanowiska konsularne i proszę też pamiętać, że w konsulatach działały przez niemal całą dobę. To był olbrzymi wysiłek służby konsularnej MSZ. Dziękuję bardzo.
Dziękuję bardzo. Madam Minister.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Radek, for hosting us here in Poland. Really good discussions we had, very open and of course really shaped by the developments this week. The war in the Middle East is rapidly widening. Tehran's strategy is to sow chaos and set the region on fire. By indiscriminately attacking its neighbors, the regime is making a strong case for its own demise. Of course, the dream scenario would be a democratic Iran that poses no threat to its neighbors, But of course, this outcome is far from certain right now. No one can predict which direction this war will take. For Europe, it's a dangerous moment. The safety of hundreds of and thousands of our citizens in the region is at stake. EU is coordinating consular assistance and funding repatriation flights for people stranded in the region, and our naval missions help protect international shipping. Tomorrow, we have a meeting together with the EU foreign ministers and the ministers from the Gulf Cooperation Council together to discuss the way forward. As the world focuses on the war in the Middle East, we cannot let Ukraine slip off the agenda. Moscow may have lost another ally in Tehran, but the same drones that are hitting Dubai are also hitting Kiev. There are no signs that Russia's war is slowing. Moscow's maximalist demands remain unchanged. Europe has a clear and legitimate interest in how this war should end. If we do not articulate ourselves, no one will do it for us. And if we wait too long, it might be too late. Respect for borders, an end to sabotage, compensation for war damages, and the return of kidnapped Ukraine children aren't just far-fetched demands. They should be the baseline. Russia's maximalist demands cannot be met with minimalist response. At the same time, we must continue to support Ukraine. We agreed to provide Ukraine with a 90 billion euro loan, and this we also must deliver. A broken pipeline should not hold Ukraine's defense hostage. Likewise, the next sanctions package must follow as soon as possible. A full maritime services ban on Russia's oil exports would go a long way to decimate Moscow's war funds. And it's extremely important at this moment when the oil prices are rising. Work also continues on the EU's contribution to security guarantees, including through our missions, support to Ukraine's defense industry, and with ceasefire monitoring. Ministers made clear that Ukraine's accession is a geostrategic goal and the strongest security guarantee that the EU can offer. And finally, we also discussed the upcoming NATO summit. If the last months are of any indicator, the time until the summit will remain unpredictable. The Middle East war shows that Europe must invest in defense capabilities and boost defense production. For example, air defenses are in short supply across the West, and this war will stretch them even further. The case is very clear. The money is there, so industry also needs to step up production. Stronger Europe makes also a stronger transatlantic alliance. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Szanowni Państwo, ponieważ bardzo napięty jest harmonogram, także mamy czas na najwyżej 3 pytania. Bardzo proszę, żeby były krótkie. Zaczniemy może tam z tyłu, bardzo proszę.
Marcin Czapski, TVP Info. Dzień dobry. Chciałem zapytać o flotę cieni. Czy macie jakiś wspólny pomysł, jak ograniczyć jej działalność w obrębie Morza Bałtyckiego, bo wszyscy podejrzewają, że teraz to zapotrzebowanie na ropę będzie większe i też flota cieni może bardziej się uaktywnić.
Tak, to rzeczywiście poważna sprawa. Przypominam, że liczba statków na liście sankcyjnej wzrosła podczas polskiej prezydencji z kilkudziesięciu do kilkuset i to takich wysokich kilkuset. Nie do końca jeszcze są zsynchronizowane listy europejska, brytyjska i amerykańska. Wszystkie statki na czyichkolwiek listach powinny być objęte tymi sankcjami. Potrzebujemy też po prostu interweniować tam, gdzie statki są pod fałszywą flagą albo bez flagi. I wysoka przedstawiciel już powiedziała, że potrzebny jest zakaz jakichkolwiek usług dla statków floty cieni. To by było podniesienie poziomu sankcji.
If I may add to this, on the last Foreign Affairs Council, we also shared a paper of best practices how to deal with the ships, really, so that member states can use this. And we are putting now sanctions on rolling basis to these fleets. So as soon as we know a new ship, we are putting it on. We are not waiting for a package of sanctions, but doing this on a rolling basis. And third, we are also working closely with the flag states. Like really, if the flag is moved, we do the outreach to the third countries. And I must say, they are really cooperative with us to make the steps so that we can, limit the shadow fleet from moving.
Proszę też pamiętać, że wszystkie sankcje, nie tylko te, muszą być ciągle uaktualniane o nowe nazwy firm czy właśnie statków. I w zeszłym tygodniu na FAC mieliśmy nadzieję uchwalić kolejny 20. pakiet sankcji. Został on zawetowany przez Węgry, przez ideologicznych sojuszników naszej opozycji.
Dziękuję bardzo. Kolejne pytanie. To może TVP World right now and then we'll move back.
Good afternoon. My name is Kazimierz Łysiak, TVP World. Question to you both about Ukraine, because there is growing concern that the war in the Middle East will divert attention from Ukraine. Is this concern also shared by you? Is it growing among other European leaders? And could you tell us if there are any plans to somehow maybe talk with the United States on some kind of cooperation where Europe would support the US in the Middle East, but in return maybe get some increased pressure on Russia?
Thank you. Yes, the worry is there that it's diverting attention away, and that's why today also we had this meeting that we can't let it slip off the table, because this is the real and very close threat to Europe. Of course, also what is worrying is that all these capabilities that are needed in the Middle East are also needed in Ukraine. So all the production we need to speed up because there is more need, and we really need to deal with this. And also the attention away from the negotiations to actually achieve peace. What is maybe a positive side is that Russia has lost another ally in this war. So I think this is positive, but we need to also move with the maritime services ban, because the oil price raise in oil prices is also helping Russia to fund the war.
There is a thread that links the two wars. And the thread is the Shahed drone. Thousands of these machines of destruction have hit countries that did not attack Iran. 57,000 have already been launched at Ukraine. So I hope it makes US decision-making realize that Russia and Iran are in it together, and that both Israel and Ukraine need security for development.
Mamy czas na ostatnie dwa pytania, bardzo proszę.
Marek Strzelecki, Reuters, good afternoon. Question to Madam Vice President. Following up on the discussion about Middle East, today there was a Iranian missile heading towards Turkey that was shot by NATO air defenses. How worrying is that, and what are the implications of that in your view? Thank you.
Thank you. The worry that this war is widening is very much widespread. I mean, also the attacks of Iran against the neighboring countries in Middle East. We will discuss this tomorrow with the Gulf countries. What can we do in this regard? But also the missiles coming to outside the Middle East are worry. So. Of course, Turkey is able to take down these missiles. We have seen also the drones coming to our directions before, not in this war. So clearly, we are, looking at these countries, what they are asking. So the countries in NATO have Article 4, Article 5. The countries in European Union have 42.7, but the request needs to come from there, and it has not been the case.
Iran is broadening the war to countries that did not attack it, to a NATO country and to an EU country. There is a well-known saying, it's worse than a crime, it's a mistake.
Dziękuję bardzo. Bardzo proszę. I to będzie już pewnie ostatnie pytanie.
Slava TV, Ukrainian service in Poland. I have a question for Kaja Kallas. Friedrich Merz recently said that the European Union should be part of the negotiation on Ukraine. Will the European Union have its own representative in these talks, and when could that happen? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, this is why I also have proposed to discuss and put forward, ideas. What are our requests for Russia? Because it's clear that in these negotiations there are a lot of concessions made on the Ukrainian side, but none on the Russian side. And it's also clear that there are also asks for Europe. Now, what is important is that we are not giving, upfront approval to the negotiations that are going on when there are requests for Europe. And that is to be very certain, very clear on this, that we are not giving our consent upfront without negotiation. So that's why we need to be at the table. But we also have asks for Russia if we are at that table. And that's why we also discuss this today. There are issues that are mirroring the requests that are already on the table for Ukraine. They should be also on the Russian side. And there are also issues that concern European security architecture, where, we clearly also have requests for Russia in order to have a sustainable and long-term peace. We are saying this very often, that, the peace has to be sustainable and long-term, but we are not really putting the finger on it. What does it mean? It means that Russia is not attacking neighboring countries, and how we can live with such neighbor in the future, and that's why it's important that Russia also takes concessions. Thank you.
Poland supports the High Representative on this, and judging from the discussion today, as the chair of the Council of Baltic Sea States, I can say that there was virtually unanimity on this, that this negotiation shouldn't be a process of satisfying Russia for it to stop. It has to be a process of creating a new balance of power and a new system of guarantees and concessions and confidence-building measures on both sides, so that we have a peace, not a ceasefire.
Madam President, Panie Premierze, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Dziękuję bardzo Państwu.